There is one behavior trait that all problem drinkers have, in my opinion. I know because I had it, and it almost destroyed me in my sobriety. And I'd love for you guys to tell me if you recognize this in yourself or in other people. So some people will argue that this is a universal behavior trait, and it's true, lots of people have this. I just think it's amplified in people who have an alcohol problem, and it's the one thing that you have to solve. Otherwise, you're always going to need an anesthetic because life just is too difficult and painful if you can't change it. So the behavior trait is that we take things really, really personally. I was this person. I took everything personally. What you did, what you said, I made it all about me. And let me give you an example, right? I used to be the kind of person, this is back in the day, like I used to work in a big open plan office, right? I would go to work on a Monday morning and I'd walk in and I would see Sarah sitting by her computer and I'd be like, oh, hi, Sarah. How was your weekend? And if Sarah responded like, yeah, it was fine, I would immediately go, what did I do? Why is Sarah upset with me? Was it something I said? Was it about the meeting we had last week? Was it an email I sent? Oh my God, what have I done? And I would spend all day preoccupied that Sarah didn't like me. And then what I would do, because that bothered me so much, even though I probably didn't know Sarah that well, I would try and maneuver and manipulate so I got Sarah's approval again. So I'd be like, I'm going to go and get a cappuccino. Can I get you one? Right? I'd do all these like people pleasing. That's what it's called. People pleasing. Like me, like me, like me. And it would really bother me until I felt like I had Sarah's approval again. I want to tell you, that is a horrible way to live. There's reasons for becoming a people pleaser. It's usually to do with childhood and our conditioning to be nice and that we are responsible for other people's feelings. So that's where it comes from. That is the faulty limiting belief that's underneath that. It is the belief that you are responsible for how other people feel. And I want to tell you that's incorrect. I am responsible for how I feel. And you are responsible for how you feel. It doesn't mean that we go out in the world and we behave like arses, right? It doesn't mean that. It means that I'm not responsible for anyone's emotional experience. However, a lot of us grew up in families and situations where we learnt a faulty belief that we were responsible for. Sometimes it's our siblings, but often a parent, for how they feel, whether they were happy or sad. And then we carry that behavior into our adult life. And it was ingrained in me. So once I had done the work of emotional sobriety, it changes you so deeply, right? So then I became the kind of person who would walk in the office on a Monday and be like, oh, hi, Sarah, how was your weekend? And if Sarah went, yeah, it was fine, thanks, I would think, I wonder what's up with Sarah. And I'd go about my day. And I want to tell you, it was transformational for my life. And I know that sounds like a really small thing, but I know there's some of you watching this who know exactly what that's like. So I'm talking about just someone I worked with. Imagine when it's like your partner or parent or best friend that you think that you've upset or disappointed in some way. It's all consuming. And that's how it used to be for me, all consuming, like especially a romantic partner. Oh my God, I would tie myself up in like a pretzel trying to be what I thought they wanted me to be, so they liked and approved of me. You cannot live like this. You cannot live like this. It's too painful. That's why this is one of the root causes of why you drink. It's a root cause of why you drink. And this is why doing the work of emotional sobriety is so important. It's why it takes a bit of time, right? It's not like a quick fix. It's practicing skills. The more you practice, the better you get. And that's what we do in the Soberful Mastermind. All the details are below, but the Soberful Mastermind is about learning some theory, learning some skills that you can practice in your daily life to change that behavior so that you can become the kind of person that doesn't take things personally. And I help you apply those skills in the twice monthly coaching calls that we have. So if you're recognizing this and you know you need to be emotionally sober, please check out the link below and join us in the mastermind. Great thing is there's one payment. There's no recurring payments. You join for life. You stay as long as you need. So what happens as a consequence of taking things personally is we get quite resentful. We are very, very sensitive. We take everything, we interpret all behavior, everything that's, if you cancel, if we're going to go to the movies on Friday and you cancel with me, I take that personally. Like, what about me? What's that about? I got to tell you this story. I realized that this had changed in me when I was dating my husband. So I was about 6 years sober at this point. I'd done all this work on myself and I was dating my husband. Wonderful. He's wonderful. Always treated me so well. That was new. And it was one Friday, we had plans to go for dinner, a date. And he called like 5 p.m. on a Friday to cancel. He said, I'm really sorry. He said, he was doing a PhD at the time. He said, there's a speaker coming to this event tonight and I really, really want to go and see them because it's, to do with my PhD. Would you mind, do you mind if, we reschedule? And I was like, yeah, sure. I totally understood that. No problem. All of a sudden I was free on a Friday night. I can't remember what I did. I went and saw a friend or whatever. And then he came over on Saturday and we had a very pleasant weekend. And on Sunday evening, I kind of had this like memory that a few years ago, what would have happened is if a boyfriend had done that with me on a Friday, I'd have gone, yeah, that's fine. But it wasn't. I would feel really let down. And like, I would interpret that to mean that he doesn't really love me. He doesn't really want me. I would have sulked all weekend. I would have been passive aggressive. I'd have been like, he would have said, are you okay? And I'd be like, yeah, fine. I would have punished him and I'd have ruined the whole weekend. And it's all because of this highly sensitive, making everything personal. And it was a really good kind of measure to see how far I'd come and how much I changed. My old behavior was really, it was a child. Now I'm an adult and I can respond to people as an adult, which is more balanced, more rational, and not taking things personally. So these are the skills that we need to learn. We need to learn how to have really good boundaries. We need to learn how to communicate our needs. We need to be able to clarify with other people what they actually mean. And we also need to be able to have a process to kind of unpick what is real and what is actually part of our faulty belief system. That's what this comes down to. It's not, we in our minds, we can't differentiate like what's actually happening here and what is part of a projection based on our belief system that started in childhood. So this is once you unpick this, I promise you, your whole life will change. Your whole life will transform. It made all of my relationships easier. It made romantic relationships finally possible. It made massive improvements with the difficult relationships I had in my life. This stuff wasn't running space. Imagine what you can think of, like all of the amazing things that you can think about if you're not worrying what somebody else thinks about you. So letting go of the people-pleasing behavior is essential to long-term sobriety. And that is why getting sober is 10% not drinking and 90% emotional sobriety. And in the next video, that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about exactly what those skills are that you need to learn. Check it out.